About it a lot, and it's been celebrated a lot, the championship of 2016, and it was obviously a huge benchmark for our program, huge benchmark for baseball in the history of Seattle U, just based on where they were and where we came from. So there was a lot of good pieces to it. The one thing we've asked our guys this year is not to get caught up on that and to not look back in the rearview mirror, because we've had a lot of great articles written about us across the country about the program, and then obviously had the ability to celebrate, but we didn't get into a regional, so that 4-0 loss to Utah Valley still puts a little bit of a chip on our shoulder going into 2017. But boy, you can't ask for much more out of the club that we had. Although we love 2016, we're more excited about 2017. It's a new club, so it's about maintaining it. It's always harder to stay on top, obviously it is to get there, and with us losing by a half game in 2015 to win our first conference championship, to winning it last year, it creates a little bit of momentum for sure. And as you get into the tournament setting, and again, our main focus will always be to win the conference itself, but that experience piece definitely comes into play the more you're there. And so, with success obviously creates, a lot of expectations for our guys, which is nice too, because they're not as satisfied with necessarily what happened last year, and they want to create their own mark. And we talk about the program in chapters, and this is our seniors chapter this year. And so, we change our goal from 35 wins last year, which obviously we were able to do, to 40 this year, and to increase our RPI as well as win a conference championship, and then with the no-brainer being to knock down that door and win that tournament. But we're also trying to, be in a position where we haven't maybe looked at it as much in the past, of really hammering out our midweeks and taking care of non-conference wins on the road. We were just 11-15 on the road last year, and knowing the guys that were in those rooms as they're selecting the 64, our name came up quite often just based on the success we had and the team that the NCAA knew we had. So we still feel that there's a chance to be an outside at-large bid, so to speak, if we don't take care of it in the tournament, if we can do some things during the course of the season to put us in that position. Another exciting schedule. And as we've always done in the past, we try to, and this is no disrespect to our opponents, go from a tougher series to a lighter series, and vice versa. So the home opener is big for us with Edwardsville, just based on the fact that it's a new season and just kind of getting our feet underneath us. So whenever we can, believe it or not, even living in Seattle, we want to play at home and roll the dice with Mother Nature and try to get those first games going on at home, just to get a feel for ourselves. 21-4 last year at home, so we feel very strong about, so-called, taking care of business here at Bannerwood Park. And then we go to Minnesota, which is a Big 12 champion and a big opportunity for us. We won 3 out of 4 from those guys last year. And even more important for us, as we did the scheduling, and Elliot Kribbe did this, it's going to put us in an environment where there's 20,000 people. It's their first games underneath the dome, and it gives us a regional feeling. We've got some shoes to fill with a couple draft picks being lost last year in Carpenter and McCann, and then, when you lose your two-time MVP in Sheldon Stober, there's some big vacancies offensively for us. So we'll rely heavily on Griffin Andriachuk, who comes back and hit 286 last year. He's a 4-year starter for us at shortstop. And then almost as important, or more important, is Sean Sutton, who's, just because he's an all-whack first baseman, who hit 337 and had 32 runs driven in, and just a catalyst, and has kind of taken over a leadership role. So those guys are huge for us to fill in for the vacancies at third base and second base. A big piece of our puzzle is defend the pitching staff that we'll talk about here in a second, which is just phenomenal. And then Dalton Hurd is huge for us in center field, coming back, leads our team in stolen bases. Jeffrey Morgan comes back in right field with experience, hitting 266 as a freshman. So there's good pieces to the puzzle. As everyone knows across the country, our pitching staff's going to dictate our success, and we're really, really blessed there. I think it's a great opportunity for our younger guys, with Tarek, Skubal, and Nick Meservy not being able to be in the front end of our rotation to start the season, as they're coming back and getting healthy. So it gives great opportunities to, number one, Jansen Junk, who will move into a Friday night role. And, it's funny, our Friday night guy who isn't talked about very much, who was our Sunday guy last year, Jansen. He's 90 to 94 miles an hour. I mean, the guy's good. And we're just so blessed with the other two guys that get a lot of the notoriety. Connor Moore on the back end, and there's a fifth-year senior, so you always like to have experience and older guys at the back end of the game when you're trying to close things out. And as you know, a lot of people may or may not know, he's the Cape Cod Pitcher of the Year, which is the best summer program league in the nation. So we feel really, really good. Offensively, from a positional standpoint, Curtis Perrin, you know, he hit 291 last year, so he comes back as a kind of a platoon guy, so him and Michael Ciancio will battle it at second base. Jake Taylor will take over at third, and Jake had a tremendous summer where he didn't play much last year behind Brock Carpenter, who's obviously, you know, playing with the Los Angeles Dodgers, so that explains itself. So he's got to be big for us. I would say one of the things that's allowed us to have our success, you'll see us play with a lot of freedom. We try to get our guys to relax, and obviously our coaching styles match that. I mean, we're a pretty relaxed group, even though the intensity level is good during the game and there's a lot of instruction, but our coaching staff does a really good job. Jeff James prepares our hitters, and I think our hitting plan is really good. It led the conference in every category that's important last year. You know, Elliot's been tremendous as our recruiting coordinator and associate head coach with the #1 staff in the conference. And then, you know, Mike Nato gives us the triple threat where we were the best defensive team last year too. So the kids are really coached up, and then by the time we play, hopefully our fans will see them have fun. Please come out, and then if you don't see that, let us know, and we'll try to make some adjustments.